From orbit, nothing hides forever. China's dual satellite radar could pierce the shadows that cloak America's stealth aircraft, tracking the invisible and moving silently through the sky. If the simulations prove true, the age of undetectable flight may be ending. How will the US respond to eyes in the heavens? China's stealth tracking efforts appear to have hit another milestone. Chinese researchers say they have tested a space-based dual satellite radar architecture capable of detecting and tracking low-observable aerial objects around the clock. Stealth technology basically minimizes an aircraft's detectability by reducing its radar cross-section, infrared signature, and acoustic emissions. China's primary adversary, the United States, has multiple stealth aircraft that can seriously threaten the People's Liberation Army forces in the event of a confrontation. As the threat of a military confrontation between China and the United States rises, Beijing has been relentlessly working to enhance its stealth detection capabilities to challenge the F-22 Raptor, the F-35 Lightning II, and the next-generation B-21 Raider, which is expected to enter service soon. If the peer-reviewed results are borne out in practice, the system could significantly erode a core advantage of US stealth platforms and reshape calculations in any future confrontation between Beijing and Washington. A paper published this month in the Journal of Radars, authored by teams from the Shanghai Academy of Spaceflight Technology, ASAST, Northwestern Polytechnical University, and Shanghai Jiao Tong University, describes experiments and extensive computer simulations demonstrating that a space-borne Bistatic synthetic aperture radar (SAR) constellation can suppress sea and ground clutter and pick out very weak, slow-moving targets. The system under study mirrors China's reported Ludi-Tance 91 concept. One satellite transmits radar pulses while a paired satellite flying in formation receives the echoes. That separation, the authors argue, reduces self-interference and improves clutter suppression, overcoming a long-standing obstacle to detecting low radar cross-section (RCS) objects from low Earth orbit. The paper's authors say their Bistatic architecture exploits particular Bistatic geometry to enhance RCS under large azimuth angles, and that a new semi-empirical Bistatic clutter scattering model, incorporating a two-scale surface scattering approach, better captures how clutter behaves in such configurations. The simulation results reportedly show reliable detection of targets with very small RCS at speeds as low as 50,000 qh, with faster targets even easier to detect because of larger Doppler shifts. The research team, led by Chen Junli, chief satellite designer at SAST, simulated a constellation matching LT1-like parameters: L-band operation, transmission power around 4 kW, and a range of Bistatic angles. They state that Bistatic angles between 30 and 130 degree minimize main lobe clutter energy even in severe sea states, and that the receiver-only role of the passive satellite improves anti-interference properties. The authors contend that space-borne Bistatic SAR can dramatically reduce the clutter that has historically protected stealth platforms, potentially enabling continuous all-weather detection from orbit. The Eurasian Times quoted the analysts suggesting that such capability would challenge the US inventory of stealth fighters and bombers, the F-22, F-35, and the future B-21. The South China Morning Post noted earlier demonstrations of unconventional detection, for example, when China's Jilin-1 commercial optical satellite reportedly tracked an F-22 in 2022, to argue that civilian and dual-use satellites already have surprising reconnaissance value. The Eurasian Times and other regional outlets have framed the new research as a milestone that could bolster China's multi-domain warfighting posture and space domain awareness. The study itself stresses detection of slow drones and low RCS aircraft and highlights the relative difficulty of jamming a Bistatic twin satellite setup because the receiver does not transmit. The new paper fits into a string of Chinese claims over recent years. Researchers have experimented with alternative detection methods, from using reflections of commercial satellite transmissions to Beidou-based passive techniques and infrared search and track prototypes, and state-owned industry unveiled a meter-wave anti-stealth JY-27V radar at a domestic expo in May 2025. Those systems, the paper notes, target different parts of the electromagnetic spectrum, and their vendors stress multi-layered detection webs combining low-frequency radar, IOST and space assets. Crucially, the paper's results are simulation-based and validated against earlier Bistatic clutter measurements. The authors acknowledge the complexity of Bistatic clutter physics and the need for real-world verification. Optical satellites, the researchers concede, suffer from nighttime and weather limitations, which is precisely why they argue radar satellites are more suitable for continuous operations. But operating a constellation capable of persistent, taskable detection at operational ranges and through deliberate countermeasures remains a formidable engineering and logistical challenge. If the LT-1 style architecture can be fielded as claimed, it would force a rethink of how stealth is employed and defended. Air operations that currently rely on low observability might require new tactics, electronic warfare responses, dispersal and deception measures, and far greater investment in space and counter-space capabilities. Conversely, the US has invested heavily in space-resilient sensors, jamming and deception, and any strategic advantage will depend on the interplay of detection, denial, and protection across domains. China's reported progress underscores a broader truth. The space and electromagnetic domains are now integral to air power competition. Whether the dual satellite radar architecture will deliver the practical capability the authors forecast depends on sustained testing, deployment, and the adversary's countermeasures. For now, the paper represents an unsettling claim, one that will be watched closely in capitals where stealth remains central to airborne advantage.